Let us talk about the breasts, not merely as anatomy, not simply as curves beneath fabric, but as stories. Every woman holds in her body a history, and her breasts are often a living archive of that history. They are not just touch points for arousal, they are symbols of vulnerability, power, shame, confidence, sensuality, and motherhood. So when you touch a woman's chest, you are not just touching skin, you are meeting memory, you are holding emotion. Desire is not a switch, it is a wave. And the way to awaken that wave is not through haste but through presence. Many people rush toward the breast as if it is an endpoint or a stepping stone to more intense pleasure, but the secret lies in slowing down. The breast responds to anticipation, not aggression. It comes alive not with force, but with finesse. When you hold her with reverence, when your fingers explore rather than grope, when your lips linger rather than devour, you tell her that she is not a performance, she is a presence. The chest blooms under attention that is mindful, and arousal rises when it is allowed to simmer. There is no correct rhythm, no universal pressure, no master technique. The art is not in knowing what to do, it's in listening. You listen with your hands, you feel her cues, you sense the inhale that quickens, the soft moan that escapes, the subtle arching toward your touch. Every woman has a unique erotic map, and the only way to learn that map is to explore with curiosity, not control. Sometimes the nipples are hypersensitive, other times the fullness of the breast craves a firmer grip. She may guide you, she may not. But if you are patient, if your gaze stays loving, if your touch is a question instead of a demand, she will open to you, and then something exquisite happens. For some women, orgasm from breast touch is not a myth, it is a reality, but it is not an orgasm you pull out of her, it's one that she allows herself to experience. It starts not in her chest but in her mind. When she feels safe, honored, and adored, not just touched but worshipped, her body surrenders in ways even she may not have expected. The breast orgasm is not merely physical release, it is emotional liberation. It is the body saying yes to its own pleasure. So don't just touch her breasts to excite her, touch them to honor her. Linger not because you want more, but because this is the more. In the right hands, the breasts are not just zones of pleasure, they are gateways to deeper intimacy. Not because of what they are, but because of how you choose to treat them. The breasts are not just parts of the female body designed for pleasure or attraction, they are carriers of memory, meaning and emotional significance. From the earliest moments of life, breasts represent nurture and warmth. For many women, their first association with breasts is tied to feeding, comfort, and the maternal bond. But as they grow older, society begins to project different meanings onto them: beauty, sexuality, desirability, even shame. This mix of experiences becomes encoded into how a woman feels about her chest, and ultimately how she responds to touch there. When someone touches her breasts, they are not only touching her body but also everything she has ever thought or felt about that part of herself. Some women feel pride in their breasts, others insecurity or detachment. For some, they are a source of deep erotic pleasure, while for others they are burdened by past traumas, body image issues, or feelings of being objectified. Understanding this emotional landscape is crucial because it shifts the intention behind the touch. It's not just physical stimulation, it's psychological invitation. The way someone touches her breasts can affirm her, or diminish her. It can either deepen her connection with her own body, or make her feel like a means to someone else's gratification. That's why sensitivity is essential. When someone touches her chest with presence, when they approach her with reverence rather than entitlement, it creates a moment of trust, and trust is the foundation for any kind of arousal. It allows the body to soften, the breath to deepen, the mind to let go. Touch becomes a language, and the chest becomes a canvas where safety, attraction, and emotional intimacy meet. If a woman has ever been shamed for her breast size or shape, if she's ever felt pressure to look or feel a certain way, then every touch is also a reminder of those internal messages. But when touch is offered without expectation, when it's slow and attuned, when it says "I see you," it begins to rewrite those messages. The chest becomes not just a site of sensuality but of healing. The breasts are close to the heart for a reason. They carry both emotional and erotic intelligence. They are not props in a sexual scene, they are participants in a deeper conversation between two bodies. They respond to energy, intention, and care, And that care begins with recognizing that you are not just reaching for flesh, you are reaching for trust. You are meeting a woman not where you want her to be, but exactly where she is. And that kind of presence has the power to transform a moment of touch into an experience of connection. Sensuality is the quiet art of awakening the senses before desire even takes form. It's the subtle invitation that prepares the body and mind for deeper intimacy. When it comes to touching a woman's breasts, sensuality is not optional, it is essential. Unlike quick arousal or mechanical stimulation, sensuality engages curiosity, attentiveness, and restraint. A breast doesn't respond well to urgency or assumption, it reacts to awareness, to how present the other person is in that moment, to the temperature of the skin, the breast that hovers before the first contact, and the energy that builds through anticipation. This is not about hesitation or timidity, but about understanding the powerful role of slow build-up. The act of touching a woman's chest should never be transactional, it must be expressive. The fingertips, the palms, the lips, all become instruments of sensation, but they must be guided by patience. When the touch is slow, when it pauses, when it circles without destination, it starts to awaken something deeper than physical response. It calls forth her receptivity. It allows her body to say yes, not just to the action, but to the meaning behind the action. There is a language in sensual touch that doesn't need words. It is in how a hand rests gently before moving, how fingers trace curves with care instead of rushing to a peak. This kind of touch tells her she is being cherished, not consumed. It gives her nervous system time to feel, to interpret, to align with the rhythm being offered. Sensuality is the bridge between emotional comfort and physical response, and it must come before sexuality if the goal is to truly awaken her breasts. Rushing or applying pressure too quickly creates disconnect. The body may go along, but the experience remains surface level. However, when touch lingers, when it's exploratory rather than goal-driven, the entire body starts to come alive. The chest in particular begins to pulse with sensitivity. The nipples respond to stimulation, yes, but they respond even more to intention. When a woman feels that your touch is grounded in presence, her guard lowers, and the arousal that follows comes from a place of surrender, not performance. Sensuality gives space for breath, for eye contact, for stillness. It doesn't ask the body to deliver, it invites it to feel. In that feeling, breasts become more than visual appeal or erogenous zone. They transform into a site of sensual intelligence, capable of producing pleasure not through stimulation alone, but through the experience of being held with awareness. Slowness does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, everything is happening. The current of energy between two people intensifies in the pause, in the near touch, in the subtle pressure of fingertips that don't demand but suggest. This approach creates a landscape where arousal can unfold naturally, where the breasts are not rushed toward climax, but invited into a sensual dance that honors their pace, their power, and their depth. Touching a woman's breasts in a way that brings her deeper pleasure begins long before your hands make contact with her body. It begins with how you look at her, how you listen to her, and how emotionally safe she feels in your presence. Eye contact is not just a visual exchange, it is a way of saying I see you, I am with you, and I honor you. That look, when genuine and grounded, creates a sense of connection that allows her to soften. The breasts are close to the heart, both anatomically and emotionally, and for many women, allowing someone access to this part of the body means trusting them not only physically but emotionally. She will allow more when she feels seen as more than a body, when she feels valued not for what she offers, but for who she is. That emotional presence is what turns simple touch into an act of intimacy. It says I am here with you, not just here for what you can give me. Emotional safety is the foundation that gives the body permission to relax, and relaxation is necessary for pleasure. When a woman feels safe, her breath deepens, her mind quiets, and her body becomes more receptive. In that state, the chest becomes more than an erogenous zone, it becomes a site of openness. When the heart feels held, the body follows. That's why touch that begins with emotional attunement creates a stronger response. She isn't just feeling your hands, she's feeling your intention, and intention cannot be faked. When your presence is fragmented, when your mind is somewhere else, or when your touch carries impatience, her body will withdraw, even if she doesn't say it aloud. The breasts are sensitive to more than pressure, they're sensitive to energy. A hurried touch might stimulate the skin, but it doesn't reach the deeper layers of her experience. Emotional safety allows her to fully inhabit her body, to feel without performing, to open without guarding. It also creates space for communication without shame. She can express what she likes, what she wants more of, or what makes her uncomfortable. And when that communication is received without judgment, the bond deepens. That bond is what allows for heightened arousal. Pleasure expands in spaces where judgment contracts. If she feels emotionally secure, her body trusts the moment and can let go. That release is what creates the conditions for more profound pleasure. Eye contact, warmth in your tone, the way you respond to her breath, all of it contributes to the sense that she is not being used, but being met. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her body starts to believe it is safe to enjoy, and when the body feels safe to enjoy, the breasts become alive with sensation, capable of deeper responses than they would ever give under pressure or demand. It is in this emotional closeness that the body dares to feel more and trust more. That trust is where true pleasure begins. Touching a woman's breasts in a way that brings her deeper pleasure is not about mastering a set of tricks or techniques. It is about sensitivity to her unique rhythm, her responses, and her emotional energy in the moment. Pressure, rhythm, and timing matter far more than any fixed method. Every woman is different, and even the same woman will respond differently depending on her mood, her state of mind, and the trust she feels. Some may respond to feather-light strokes while others prefer firm cupping. For some, the nipples are hypersensitive and require gentle teasing. For others, stimulation needs to be gradual and warming. The key is not in following a guidebook, but in paying attention. The body speaks, and it speaks in whispers. A sharp breath, a subtle arch of the back, a soft moan, or even complete stillness, all of these are responses that guide the next move. It's not about doing more, but doing what is right for her in that moment. A well-timed pause can be more powerful than continuous movement. The stillness, the hovering hand, the suspended breath, these can charge the moment with erotic tension, giving the body time to catch up with the rising sensation. Rhythm is the tempo of that rising desire, and it should match the way her energy builds. Too fast, and it becomes overwhelming or numbing. Too slow, and it can lose the momentum. The only way to find that rhythm is to move in sync with her body, to attune yourself to her breath, her softness, her tension. When the rhythm matches her internal tempo, the body begins to hum with responsiveness. Pressure is equally nuanced. A firm palm pressed against the chest can ground her in your presence, while a fingertip circling the nipple can spark waves of arousal. But what works in one moment may not in the next. Sensitivity means checking in, not always with words, but with presence. Does her body lean into the touch or pull away? Does she sigh or go quiet? Each reaction tells a story, and that story is not linear, it is a dance. A dance where you must be willing to follow, not just lead. The timing of touch is often overlooked, but it holds incredible power. A breast doesn't always want to be the first place you reach for. Sometimes its pleasure increases when the touch arrives later, after anticipation has built in other parts of the body. When you finally do arrive there, your touch is welcomed, not assumed. It becomes a reward, not a right. That timing changes everything, because now her chest is already awake with desire, her mind is no longer guarding, her body is already yearning, and your touch becomes part of an unfolding rather than an intrusion. The breasts, when approached with the right rhythm, pressure, and timing, become incredibly responsive. They stop being objects of stimulation and become participants in a shared erotic exchange. This is where physical pleasure turns into embodied communication. For many women, the idea that they can experience orgasm from breast stimulation alone is not something they've considered possible. Culturally, sexual pleasure is often portrayed as something centered between the legs, leaving the rest of the body as secondary or simply supportive. But the breasts, particularly the nipples, are filled with nerve endings and energetic sensitivity that connect to the brain and emotional centers of the body. Breast orgasms are not solely physical, they are deeply psychological. They begin with the mind, allowing the possibility that such a release is valid, natural, and achievable. When a woman's body feels safe, when she is emotionally present and mentally open, her breasts can become highly responsive to sustained attentive stimulation. The pathway to a breast orgasm doesn't begin with technique, it begins with belief. A woman who has never had one may already feel hesitation, wondering if it's something rare or inaccessible to her. But when her mind is open to the idea, when she is not focused on performance or outcome, her body becomes more receptive. The energy shifts, she starts to feel every sensation more vividly. Her skin becomes more alive, her nipples more sensitive, her chest more attuned to touch that is layered with care, presence and erotic energy. This experience requires trust, both in herself and in the person touching her. It is not about rushing toward climax. It is about lingering, circling, teasing, inviting sensation to build slowly until it finds its own rhythm. Unlike other forms of orgasm that may build with intensity and then break in a sharp peak, breast orgasms often emerge like a slow tide rising. The pleasure may start in the chest but can spread throughout the body, wrapping around the spine, the belly, the neck, and even into the throat. It is a more diffuse whole-body experience and often more emotional. For some women it may be accompanied by tears, laughter or deep stillness. It is not just a release, it is a softening, a surrender. The stimulation that leads to this experience is not mechanical. It can come from a hand, a mouth, a tongue, or even breath. But what makes it potent is the consistency and the intention behind it. When the person touching her is fully present, not distracted, not demanding, not using the chest as a means to another end, her body begins to trust. The trust deepens the sensation deepens the release, and that release doesn't always look the same. It might not be loud or explosive, it may be quiet, internal, almost meditative. But for the woman experiencing it, it feels profound and affirming. It reminds her that her body is not limited to one kind of pleasure or one type of response. It expands her sexual map. It shows her that pleasure can come from places she didn't know were waiting to be awakened. And that awakening begins the moment her mind embraces the truth that her breasts are not just decorative or nurturing, they are powerfully erotic, capable of giving her joy on their own terms. The breasts are often treated as a pathway to something else, a brief stop along the way to what is assumed to be the main event, but when they are approached as a destination of their own, something deeper is unlocked. A woman's chest is not a stepping stone toward sex, it is a place where arousal, trust and emotional intimacy converge. When someone takes their time there, when they explore the chest without the agenda to move on quickly, the body feels honored. It begins to relax, and in that relaxation, sensitivity grows. The nerves in and around the breast, especially the nipples, don't immediately reveal their full capacity. They respond over time, and they reward patience. When touch is continuous, consistent and unhurried, the breasts start to shift from passive receivers of attention to active participants in pleasure. The longer the touch lingers with care and intention, the more they awaken, becoming responsive in ways that may surprise even the woman herself. They begin to pulse, tighten, tingle, and sometimes even throb. And the longer that connection is held, the more powerful the sensations become. But this awakening does not happen under pressure. It happens in presence. The presence to explore, to breathe, to feel what each movement does rather than rushing toward a result. It requires slowing down enough to notice how the body shifts under your hand, how it leans in or holds back, how it calls for more or signals a pause. Treating the breasts as a destination means offering your full attention without expectation. It means making the journey the reward, not using it to earn the right to something else. This kind of attention speaks to more than arousal, it speaks to value. It tells the woman that this part of her is not just useful for stimulation, but worthy of devotion. And when she feels that, her body reacts with openness. That openness becomes the foundation for deeper sensation, and eventually deeper release. Erotic energy thrives in spaces where time stretches. When there's no rush, the body has time to discover new layers of sensation. A touch that starts as mild can evolve into something magnetic, even electric. The nipples may start to ache in the best way, not from pain but from building energy that wants to go somewhere. That energy, when contained through continued stimulation, can travel through the body like a wave, eventually creating an orgasmic release that comes not from pushing but from receiving. The chest becomes a landscape of pleasure that holds emotional and physical depth. This is what happens when it is treated as a destination, not a means to access, not a pass-through but a place to stay, to be with, to explore slowly and thoroughly. And when this space is given time, intention and care, the breasts offer not just pleasure but profound erotic response. one that is as fulfilling as any other kind of climax, because it came from full presence and a true honoring of the body. When we begin to understand the woman's breasts not as objects, but as gateways to emotional, psychological, and sensual depth, everything about how we touch them changes. It's not about performance or pressure, but presence. Real pleasure is created when touch is intentional, rhythm is attuned, and emotional safety is prioritized. The breasts are not a shortcut to arousal, they are a complete erotic universe of their own. When honored with patience, reverence, and genuine connection, they awaken in ways that go far beyond physical reaction. They offer not just sensation, but intimacy, trust, and even orgasmic release that is rooted in deep surrender. It is in this slow, attentive, and emotionally intelligent approach that we discover the real art of touching her chest, an art that invites her to feel, to open, and to truly be seen.